So I wanted to tell you guys something that I've read recently that I found so interesting. It's basically about this experiment conducted by Martin Seligman in the early 1960s to determine something called learned helplessness. The experiment was basically comprised of 3 different cages that 3 different groups of dogs had to enter. In the first cage, the bottom of the right hand side was wired, meaning that if the dog set foot on the right hand side, it would get shocked. So obviously the dog learnt from this and avoided the right hand side and stayed on the left. In the second cage, it was basically the same thing, but this time the bottom left hand side was wired. And the same thing happened. The dog knew to avoid the left hand side after it got shocked once and stayed on the right. Now, in the third cage, there were just random wires everywhere, so that when the dogs entered the cage, they were just randomly shocked. At first, the dogs were confused and they didn't know where to stand and they panicked. But after a while, they just gave up and lay down and just took the shocks as they came, rather than trying to outsmart them. It's so sad, I know. The experiment, however, was not over. Seligman then opened the cage door and expected the dogs to just run out. However, they just stayed there, still getting shocked and still in pain. From this experiment, it was concluded that a creature, whether it be a dog or a human, when exposed to violence will tend to stay, even when they have the opportunity to escape like the dog did. This is known as learned helplessness. It happens to people that perceive events as being uncontrollable when in reality they're really not, and can happen to people in so many different situations, such as a student in a classroom that keeps on failing and doesn't think that they can improve, to people in abusive relationships that think there's no way out. People affected by learned helplessness also inherit other unhealthy patterns of behaviour, and it's that kind of cycle when it's hard to get out. It's all about normalizing the abnormal. I really hope you guys found this video interesting and learned a little about learned helplessness. Until next time.